The three of us had been friends since we were kids. Growing up in Nevada, we had developed an affinity for the desert and all that it had to offer. I had lived there for most of my life and worked as a teacher at a local university. I knew the terrain well, and I had taken many trips through the desert. We often went out to explore abandoned locations in the desert. It was something of a hobby of ours. One of our friends, James, would always find the locations for us to explore. We had visited abandoned houses, abandoned buildings, and even an abandoned zoo. The most recent abandoned location that we visited was an abandoned mine shaft in the Mojave Desert. Charles, our quiet friend who usually kept to himself and only occasionally contributed to our explorations, had found this one. He had discovered a lead on the location through a small, obscure Instagram account that had posted pictures of it. James was skeptical about the accuracy of the information, but we decided to give it a shot and headed out in my Wrangler one weekend. We arrived in the area of the desert where the mine shaft was supposed to be located. James had printed out a map that he had found online that was supposed to lead us to the location. It was a very basic map with vague directions and a small X to mark the location of the mine. We also had an offline map downloaded on our phones, which would help us get to the approximate location. After a while of searching, we came across a small clearing in the desert. There was a collapsed wooden structure in the center of the clearing, which we believed was the entrance to the mine shaft. We approached the structure cautiously, as it looked unstable and could collapse at any moment. We carefully made our way around the structure, looking for a way to enter the mine. After a few minutes of searching, we found an opening in the structure that appeared to lead into the mine. It was a small opening, but it was large enough for us to fit through. We decided to enter the mine and explore it. We made our way through the entrance and into the mine shaft. The air inside was colder than the air outside, and it was much quieter. We could hear our footsteps echoing off the walls of the tunnel. We walked for a few minutes, taking in the sights and sounds of the abandoned mine. The walls were made of rough-hewn stone, and the ground was uneven and rocky. There were old mining carts and tools scattered throughout the tunnel, a reminder of the mine's former life. We continued to walk, enjoying the coolness of the tunnel and the sense of adventure that came with exploring an abandoned place. After a few more minutes, we came to a fork in the tunnel. We stopped and discussed which direction to go. Charles suggested that we go left, as he had heard that the left tunnel led to a deeper part of the mine. James wanted to go right, as he believed that the right tunnel would lead us back to the surface sooner. I didn't have a preference, so I left the decision up to them. Charles and James argued back and forth for a few minutes before Charles suggested that they split up and explore both tunnels. James agreed, and we decided to split up and meet back at the fork in half an hour. I took the right tunnel, and Charles took the left. We both started walking, enjoying the solitude and the coolness of the tunnels. As I walked, I noticed that the tunnel was getting narrower, and the air was getting colder. I could see my breath in front of me, and I could feel a slight breeze coming from up ahead. I continued to walk, curious about where the tunnel would lead. After a few minutes, I heard a strange noise coming from up ahead. It sounded like something was moving through the tunnel, scraping against the walls. I stopped and listened carefully, trying to determine what it was. The noise grew louder and closer, and I realized that it was coming from around the next corner. I slowly approached the corner, my heart racing with anticipation. As I turned the corner, I saw a figure standing in the tunnel. It was tall and gaunt, with long arms and legs that seemed to stretch on forever. Its skin was pale and decaying, and its eyes were black and empty. It was dressed in tattered clothing that hung loosely from its body. I froze in terror, unable to move or speak. The creature stared at me with its empty eyes, its mouth open in a silent scream. I could feel its cold breath on my face, and I could smell the stench of decay coming from its body. Suddenly, the creature let out a loud, demonic scream and lunged at me. I turned and ran, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the creature behind me, its footsteps echoing off the walls of the tunnel. I ran as fast as I could, desperate to escape the creature and find my way back to the surface. As I ran, I heard a loud crash behind me. I didn't dare look back, fearing what I might see. I just kept running, my heart pounding in my ears. I ran for what felt like hours, but it was probably only a few minutes. Finally, I saw a glimmer of light up ahead. I burst through the entrance of the mine and into the sunlight, gasping for air. I looked around frantically, trying to find Charles and James. They were nowhere to be seen. I decided to wait for them at the entrance to the mine, hoping that they would come back soon. As I waited, I thought about what I had seen in the tunnel. I couldn't shake the image of the creature from my mind, and I wondered if Charles and James had seen it too. After a few minutes, Charles and James emerged from the mine. They looked pale and shaken, and they were both out of breath. I asked them if they had seen the creature, and they both nodded. "What was that thing?" James asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know," I replied. "But I think we should get out of here as quickly as possible." We quickly made our way back to my Wrangler and drove away from the mine as fast as we could. We didn't stop until we were back in the city, safe and sound. We never spoke of what we saw in the mine, and we never went back to explore another abandoned location again. I couldn't forget what we had seen. I kept seeing the creature in my dreams, and I couldn't get the image of its empty eyes out of my head. I became withdrawn and isolated, unable to face my friends or anyone else. Eventually, I decided to seek help. I went to see a therapist who specialized in trauma and PTSD. She helped me to process my feelings and to come to terms with what I had experienced. It took time, but I eventually began to feel better. I learned that the creature we had seen was likely a miner who had died in the mine many years ago. His spirit had become trapped in the mine, and he had been unable to move on. Seeing us had probably stirred up painful memories for him, and he had lashed out in anger and confusion. He wasn't trying to hurt us. He was just trying to scare us away so that he could be left in peace. I felt sorry for the miner and his tragic fate. I hoped that he would eventually find peace and be able to move on from the mine. I was just grateful that we had escaped unharmed and that I was able to recover from the experience. I still think about the creature from time to time, but I no longer feel afraid or traumatized by the memory. I'm just grateful that I have my friends and my therapist to support me, and that I'm able to live a happy and fulfilling life despite what happened. But what we didn't know was that the creature didn't stay down in the abandoned mine shaft. He followed us home, and now I'm seeing him every time I close my eyes. He is still chasing me, and now there is no tunnel for him to run through. There is just open space, and I feel his icy breath on the back of my neck. I feel it getting closer and closer with every step, and I can hear his demonic scream. It's getting closer. It has been 4 months since we visited the abandoned mineshaft. A lot has changed since then. For starters, I'm still recovering from a nasty ankle injury I sustained while running from the creature. It's healing slowly, but the doctors say I should be back to full strength in no time. But the injury isn't the worst of it. Ever since that day in the mine, I've been seeing the creature everywhere. At first, it was just glimpses out of the corner of my eye, but now it's becoming more and more frequent. I'll see it in my peripheral vision, or sometimes even right in front of me. It's always the same. The creature is tall and gaunt, its skin pale and decaying. Its eyes are black and empty, and its mouth is always open in a silent scream. It never speaks, but I can sense its malevolent presence whenever it's near. I've tried to convince myself that it's just my imagination, that the stress of the encounter in the mine has caused me to hallucinate. But deep down, I know that's not true. The creature is real, and it's haunting me. I've started to vary my daily routine, hoping to throw the creature off my trail. I take different routes to work, I go to different coffee shops, I even wear different clothes. But no matter what I do, the creature always finds me. Sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I'll feel a chill run down my spine. I'll turn around and see the creature standing there, watching me. Other times I'll be sitting at home and I'll hear a strange noise coming from outside. When I go to investigate, I'll see the creature lurking in the shadows. I've tried talking to my friends about it, but they just think I'm losing my mind. They tell me to seek help, to talk to a therapist, but I know that won't do any good. The creature is real and it's tormenting me. I'm starting to feel like I'm living in a nightmare. Everywhere I go, the creature is there, watching me, waiting for me. I'm constantly on edge, never knowing when it will appear next. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm at my breaking point. I just want the creature to leave me alone, to let me live my life in peace. But I know that's not going to happen. The creature has attached itself to me, and it's not going to let go. I'm trapped in a living hell, and I don't know how to escape. All I can do is sit here and wait for the creature to make its next move. And when it does, I'll be ready. I have to be. It's been 6 months since I last saw the creature. I thought that I had finally escaped its grasp, that I had finally found peace. But last night, I saw it again. I was at home, watching TV on the couch. It was late, around 11 p.m., and I was getting ready for bed. Suddenly, I felt a chill run down my spine, just like I had felt so many times before. I knew that the creature was near. I looked up from the TV and saw it standing in the corner of the room. It was just as I had remembered it, tall and gaunt with pale, decaying skin. Its black, empty eyes were fixed on me, and its mouth was open in a silent scream. I froze, unable to move or speak, the same way I had when I first saw it in the mine. My heart raced, and my mind went blank. All I could do was stare at the creature in horror. The creature didn't move. It just stood there, watching me with its empty eyes. I could feel its malevolent presence filling the room, making it hard to breathe. I knew that I had to get out of there, but my body wouldn't respond. I was paralyzed with fear. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature vanished. 1 second it was there, the next, it was gone. I was left sitting on the couch, my heart pounding in my chest and my mind reeling with terror. I didn't sleep at all that night. I couldn't stop thinking about the creature and what it wanted from me. Why had it appeared again after all this time? What did it want? I know that I can't ignore it anymore. I have to confront the creature and find out what it wants from me. But how? I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I know that I have to do something. I can't keep living like this, constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the creature to appear again. I have to face my fears and find a way to make it stop. I'm going to start by researching the history of the mine where we first encountered the creature. Maybe there's a connection between the mine and the creature that I don't know about. Maybe there's a way to put the creature's spirit to rest and free myself from its torment. I don't know what I'll find, but I have to try. I can't keep living in fear. It's time to face the creature once and for all. I've been researching the mine for days, trying to find any connection between it and the creature. So far, I haven't found much, but I did find something interesting. The mine was closed down in the 1950s after a tragic accident. A group of miners were working deep underground when a cave-in occurred, trapping them. Rescue efforts were made, but they were unable to reach the trapped miners in time. Everyone who was trapped in the cave-in died. I think that the creature might be the spirit of one of those miners. Maybe it's angry that it was trapped and couldn't escape, or maybe it's just confused and doesn't know what happened. Either way, I think that the key to getting rid of the creature lies in the history of the mine. I decided to pay another visit to the mine, hoping to find some answers. I packed up my gear and set out early in the morning, determined to get to the bottom of things. When I arrived at the mine, I was surprised to see that the entrance had been boarded up. Someone had nailed plywood over the opening, and there was a sign that read, "Danger, do not enter." I knew that this couldn't be a coincidence. Someone must have known about the creature and was trying to keep people away. But who? And how did they know about it? I decided to investigate further. I walked around the perimeter of the mine, looking for any other clues. That's when I saw it. There was a small, hidden entrance on the side of the mine. It looked like it had been recently dug out, and it was just big enough for me to fit through. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should go in, but my desire for answers outweighed my fear, and I decided to enter. As soon as I stepped inside, I felt the same chill that I had felt before. I knew that the creature wasn't far away. I fumbled for my flashlight and turned it on, casting a weak beam of light into the darkness. The tunnel was narrow and winding, and it stretched deep into the earth. I could hear the sound of dripping water echoing off the walls, and I could feel the weight of the rock above me. I started to make my way deeper into the tunnel, my heart pounding in my chest. As I walked, the tunnel began to slope downward. I found myself descending deeper and deeper into the earth, the air growing colder with each step. I could feel the creature's presence all around me, watching me, waiting for me. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. It sounded like footsteps, echoing off the walls of the tunnel. I spun around, but there was nothing there. The footsteps stopped, and an eerie silence fell over the tunnel. I knew that the creature was playing with me. It wanted to scare me, to make me run, but I wasn't going to give it the satisfaction. I stood my ground, my flashlight shaking in my hand. "Show yourself," I said, my voice echoing off the walls. There was no response. The silence was oppressive, and I could feel the creature's malevolent presence bearing down on me. "Show yourself!" I yelled, my anger and fear getting the better of me. Still, there was no response. I realized that the creature was never going to show itself, not until it was ready, and I knew that it would be ready soon. I turned and started to make my way back up the tunnel, but it was too late. The creature appeared in front of me, blocking my path. It was just as gaunt and terrifying as I remembered, its empty eyes fixed on me. I tried to run, but my feet felt heavy, as if they were stuck to the ground. The creature began to move towards me, its long arms outstretched. I could feel its icy breath on my face, and I knew that I was doomed. Just as all hope seemed lost, I remembered the research I had done. I remembered the accident that had killed the miners, and I realized what the creature wanted. "It's okay," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I know what happened. I know that you're trapped here." The creature stopped in its tracks, its empty eyes fixed on me. I could sense a confusion emanating from it, as if it didn't understand what I was saying. "I know that you were a miner," I continued. "I know that you died in the cave-in. But it's okay. You can move on now." The creature cocked its head to the side, as if it was considering my words. Then, slowly, it began to fade away. As it disappeared, I could feel the malevolent presence lifting from the tunnel. I realized that the creature had been confused and angry. It didn't know what had happened to it, and it didn't know how to move on. But now that it knew the truth, it could finally find peace. I made my way back up the tunnel and out of the mine, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. The creature was gone, and I was finally free from its torment. I knew that I would never forget my terrifying encounters with the creature, but I was just grateful to have made it out alive. As I walked away from the mine, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. The creature had been a victim, just like the other miners who had died in the accident. It had been trapped between worlds, unable to move on. But now, it could finally rest in peace. I hope that the creature has found the peace it deserves, and I hope that I'll never have to encounter it again. I've always loved exploring abandoned locations. There's something about the history and mystery of these places that draws me in. As someone who has lived in Nevada my entire life, I've had the opportunity to explore many abandoned mines, buildings, and even entire towns. My friends and I have a tradition of going out and exploring these abandoned locations every few months. We pack up our gear, load up my Forks 4 Wrangler, and head out into the desert in search of adventure. This past weekend, we decided to explore some abandoned mine shafts in the Mojave Desert. We had heard about them from an obscure Instagram account that documents abandoned locations, and we were determined to find them. The drive out to the location was long and arduous. We had to take a series of dirt roads and trails to get there, and at times, it felt like we were driving through the middle of nowhere. But the scenery was beautiful, with vast expanses of desert stretching out as far as the eye could see. After a few hours of driving, we finally reached the location. It was an old, abandoned mine that had been closed down decades ago. The entrance to the mine was a large, dark hole in the side of a mountain, partially hidden by some brush. We parked the Wrangler and got out, eager to start exploring. We were all wearing helmets, headlamps, and sturdy boots, and we had plenty of water and snacks with us. We were as prepared as we could be for what lay ahead. As we approached the entrance to the mine, we could feel a cool breeze blowing out of it. It was a refreshing change from the hot desert air, and it gave us a hint of what it would be like inside the mine. We stepped inside the mine, our headlamps casting flickering beams of light into the darkness. The air inside was cool and damp, and it smelled of minerals and decay. We could hear the sound of dripping water somewhere in the distance, and the ground beneath our feet was uneven and rocky.